Is it okay? Okay. I don't have any great personal stories like we heard in the morning. I have a rather mundane story, so I would not tell you. The second thing is, it is for consideration by Professor Dr. Upadhyaya. We have so much of grey matter inside, it is flowing out. So that's why I hope we will pass on some of this wisdom to you. I gave this long title, you don't have to read it, just to say how we have moved from 19th century. Have any of the students looked at a paper in 19th century? No? You should, it's worthwhile going and looking at it. The title of a paper is usually half a page. And it almost describes everything that a person does. We have lost that habit, but I think it was a good one. Okay. I just want to start with what was technology then and now. Look at what it was. It is a cell phone in 1982. Would you believe it? You require a truck to carry it, and what you speak is not even audible to yourself, let alone to somebody else. And today, you have to search where the cell phone is. There are some very nice advertisements about the smallness of the cell phone, and you must have seen them. And it is really very, very tiny, and there are also some very interesting things like this. It's all happening because of shrinking silicon. This was the 4004 microprocessors. Believe me, some of us have started from that processor. I worked on 4004. And this was a 1970 processor, 12 square millimeters, $50 and it had 4,000 transistors. Today, this is already old, 2009, we have a 500 square millimeter silicon, and the density of energy that it has is a tremendous amount of heat. Costs about $500, and it has 1 billion transistors. And very soon we will have something which will have 5 billion transistors. So we are really moving into different arenas. Let's just switch for a moment and look at the usage of technology then and now. Do any of you remember this scene? Typical PCO, students in a college like this wanting to call your parents and telling them that you are behaving yourself well, even if you're not. So nobody could disbelieve you, so just go and say, hey mama, I'm behaving well. And so that was a long queue, and then people had to stand up. Today, you see this? They're having in a restaurant, two of them, and he's calling her and saying that I'm having a shrimp scampi, whatever that means, an Italian delicacy. They don't even communicate directly anymore with each other. It seems to be more comfortable to talk to each other through the cell phone. Given the number of divorces in US, I think this is not unfair. It's not uncommon. This is a standard feature. Now, so we have to ask a question, where are the applications going? What are we doing with this kind of things? Technology has really become technology is not anymore a limitation. Now look at this. She's telling her, I juggle a family, a career, and all 3 cell phones. So we are now, many technology solutions that you see are addressing to make this easy. How can she juggle 3 phones easily? Is that a problem to solve? First of all, why did you give her 3 phones? And then ask her to juggle and then solve the problem. Or look at this. We talked a lot about Facebook. You know how it started. The originator of Facebook wanted to profile the girls in his class. I put it a little more mildly as classmates. Let's say selected classmates. So he wanted to do that. And then it grew into a product. Can you believe it? I mean, where did it start? On one hand, it is a great inspiration. You take a trivial applications like wanting to profile my classmates, and it becomes a billion people product. On the other hand, look at the triviality of how the whole thing started. Twitter, there is a contest today. I hope we will get decent Twitters. And then look at this. This is, I found this most interesting. I want you to text 100 times that I will not text message in the class. I think the principal here has complained sufficiently about the number of tweets that and number of text messages that go out of a class. So we are putting technology to all these kind of things. And of course, you can read this. It's also a funny kind of a thing. So if you look at the usual phrase of technologies, what do you want to do? They say better user experience, whatever that means. And better shopping, friend circles, movie rankings, shop rankings, etc. In Intel's presentation, all of them, they talk about a nice shopping experience. I think we have had the best experiences in India of shopping in Malleshwaram, in Bangalore for vegetables. Cannot be improved with whatever technology you have, but they want this. Then you have better access to your personal database. You have pictures, songs, and videos. First of all, why take 2,000 pictures of this event and then want to classify it later? That's what we are putting our technologies in. Songs, you show your microphone, your cell phone somewhere, it catches the song. And then you want to classify that. Huh? So a lot of things like this. Then easy sharing of pictures, movies, songs, etc. This is a fact. Have you noticed these things? Students must have seen this kind of expressions. And blogging for self-expression. That's what we started with. Always it started with great intentions for self-expression. So for all this, we need always connected, anywhere, anytime, and anyhow. So it doesn't matter how we connect, we are supposed to be connecting. Now, whereas if you come back to a bit of a reality in today's world, first of all, you want equal opportunity for all in a country like India. I don't think, it was mentioned in the morning, a speaker talked about the opportunities. They're not equal to everyone. Inclusion of everyone to participate. If you think that I'm using a little political term, please excuse me, I'm not a politician, but I think these ideas are important. People are using these ideas to get votes, whereas we should be using them to really better the people. Inclusion where everybody has for instance, a bank account. That's a financial inclusion. In India, we have less than 5% of people enjoying a bank account. Is that what a great country going forward wants to do? Then autonomy. How many of us are economically autonomous? How many of us are, well, autonomy, I'm not talking about the ladies. You always want your man to be in your thumb. No, I'm not talking about that autonomy. That will continue to happen. But I'm talking about the financial autonomy and a few other things. And then eliminating vested interest and corruption. I was wondering whether I should put this word or not. I'm dreading now that we have a new policy for the fines in the driving sector. I think we are going to increase it 10 times. Now tell me, how are we going to implement it? Are you going to see anybody really paying 5,000 rupees for drunken driving? It can be done, provided there is will and there is a lot of things to do. But I'm sure that this little fellow will take over and we will collect a lot of money, but not to the government. Then openness and transparency of doing things, any number of stories which are going on today in the newspapers, and we need this. Then sustenance, resources are not inexhaustible. We cannot have a model like United States to have the growth like they have. So these are some of the concerns that we have today, and we are a multilingual and a multicultural society. No language is any less than any other language, and no culture is any less than any other language. We must really ingrain that into ourselves. So given all these needs, and then we have other kind of things like livelihood generation is an important thing. We have great schemes like NREGA, well thought out, ill implemented. It's a terrible disaster that we are losing 40,000 crores a year with a great plan. Then hygiene and health. I don't have to talk about it. You just need to go to some places. Some pictures were shown in the morning as to how interesting and good they are. Food and nutrition and entertainment and information. It looks funny that we are talking about entertainment. A villager told me once, I was asking her, tell me what is your problem? She says, my husband comes drunk. Then I asked her why. He said, after 5 o'clock there is no power. What entertainment does he have in the village? I think it was a great insight that you don't have entertainment and therefore they have to spend time. The only way to do it is to go and get together with a few other guys and start drinking some abominable alcohol. So there are many things like this which are important. So we need to do it through education, through efficient governance, through efficient use of resources, and reducing vulnerability of the poor people. Now, so if you take the arena of development, therefore it tends to center around this. You need resources, you have concerns of importance that you want to consider, you want competence in the given area, and interest and commitment, and the core area is where we need to operate. Are there examples? Yes, there are some real examples. For instance, this is a funny thing I found. Tanzania, one group, one NGO uses music for activism, anti-corruption drive. You go to a village, they get together, they sing, and the theme of that song is anti-corruption. And it's a great, you should see the video, I didn't have time to pick it up. It's a great thing to do. E-education, is this a lab? This is a virtual lab. Looks almost like a lab, right? And given the vastness of our country, this is something great that is happening. Then ICT in rural education, India has done a few things. You have a mobile lab, for instance, then you have a lot of different. I think these children are shown to indicate that there is a big distance to walk, but then there are a lot of things that you can enjoy in the ICT. Okay, I have listed a few things. I'll skip. Empowerment. It's a very interesting thing that this is. It looks like a picture from India, right? But it is implemented by a project in Stockholm University from Sweden, where people are talking about empowering women through ICT. Then in rural call center, this is a call center in Karnataka, where the call centers are not anymore centered in Bangalore, Mangalore or Mumbai, but they are centered in some small villages. So then high-tech in agriculture, this is a project from our own lab, where we have put some sophisticated instrumentation in the field to look at better agriculture in a place called Sikepura, which is about 200 kilometers from Bangalore. So then we have environment, then we have concerns of environment and so on. This I thought was interesting. Look at something like conservation. This is called a camera trap. It was an expensive instrument to use, and CDT took upon trying to redesign this. We have designed and manufactured something like 1,000 numbers so far, and it has been put all over the country as well as all over the world. Tanzania, then we have in Ecuador and many other places. So these kind of technologies are also very important and interesting to develop. These are the visitors that we had. They are so curious about what we have been doing. Look at this fellow. Seems to be very interested in what we are doing. And look at this fellow. He looks with all the curiosity that you have, and so on. This has a very special meaning. Why the picture looks like that, I leave it to some of you to figure out. Otherwise, I'll tell you what it is later. And look at this. Can you play the video? You see, this is something which we took from our camera trap. Do you see anything like this? We had no clue as to what a wild dog does, or how does a prey animal like the deer escape so many of these thugs from this attack. And these kind of pictures we took from our simple camera traps that we have designed. And so healthcare, then you have ICT in rural healthcare and so on. So, and others. You can talk about economy and banking, energy, transportation, civic utilities, e-governance and so on. Now, so what is the way forward then? What do we do? One thing we have to understand, this is something much more serious that we will have to understand very clearly, is that what I call a technology chasm, it exists in India. Number one, whenever you take up research in universities all over the world, in developed world particularly, the research is invariably driven by a real life problem. There are a few cases like carbon nanotubes, which are or superconductors, which came out of some kind of imagination. But by and large, particularly in the engineering research, not so much in science research, the underlying principle from where a research work started is always rooted in a real life problem. This, I think, is a serious missing link in India, because our real life problems are very different from somebody else's, and how much of our research work is based on our own real problem in India is something which is to be pondered over. Secondly, this is also a difficult problem. Markets, it is normally driven by a compelling product. You look at the iPhone 4S, it's a fantastic product, but in the US market. And it came out of a compelling product, came out of a compelling, a market came out of a compelling product like 4S. We are missing both of these elements in India to a significant amount. We are neither driven in research by our own real life problems, nor are we addressing the markets where we can actually get a foothold of. Both are to a large extent missing. Given that, this is in Kannada, I think you don't have the font. So that's why I said I prefer to use my machine. Okay, it is attention in French, Achtung and Eccherike in Kannada. What we say is many research and product development based on problem of somebody else and market elsewhere is what we are doing now. We were talking about brain drain, our people going and working elsewhere. Today they have come here and we work for them, and it is the same brain drain. It is happening in Bangalore instead of in Boston. So it's the same problem that we are facing. So it is time to look elsewhere. Best brains are busy solving problems of those who can pay. It reset those who are rich. And sometimes these problems have to be first created to solve it for these rich people, because many times they don't have problems, they have a lot of money. So you create a problem for them and say, okay, I'm going to solve it for you. And then complex problems of the needy, therefore, do not get the right talent, and it is time to change all of this. The context has to be completely changed, and the Indian challenges we have to remember always are manifold. First is in terms of equality, we have the rich and poor divide, urban and rural, multi-ethnic society. We have a demographical problem with health and nutrition, and then education, jobs, multicultural society, and so on. And then we have a base reality where we have a large, the bottom of pyramid population, low empowerment, and low productivity. So we require really highest levels of innovation. We need to remember that we require affordable cost, the right kind of technology, not the appropriate or the low technology, but the right kind of technology. We need efficient delivery channels. We require absolutely new business models. We require aggregation of use in to make community-wise and so on. And we require solutions which are highly customizable to local conditions. What flies in Calcutta may not fly in Bangalore, so we will have to be customizing them. In summary, technology for solution for local problems is what we have to address. It is a valid topic. We should not be shy to work on these areas. It can have a huge impact. It requires a lot of systems help, which fortunately is available today, requires novel technologies, and needs enormous amount of innovation. And the solutions must be realistic, can't depend on sustained financial aid or subsidy. It's not the way to go around. Must find business models for a profitable business, and must be based on real needs. Thank you very much for your attention. I don't know, questions are not a part of this, right? Okay. It will come later. Okay. So I'm done in 18 minutes, which your TED specification said, which incidentally I thought was not all that great.